Congressman Devin Nunes, have you been compromised by the Russians?
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
As of right now, I'm not aware of it. But you know, they work very mysteriously. I mean, for the last year, we've been chasing Russian ghosts around that were colluding with the Trump campaign. We haven't found them yet, but they could be there. We're still looking.
Well, out of everything that was thrown at you, one thing people kept saying yesterday is that, well, there was some acknowledgement that this was a political document, meaning the dossier, in a footnote at the bottom of the FISA warrant. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, if you look what they've done over the course of the last couple of weeks since we put together our memo so that we could make sure the American public discovered the FISA abuses that occurred, they've continued to leak out bits and pieces of information to create narratives that, quite frankly, have one thing in common: they're always false. So a footnote saying that something might be political is a far cry from letting the American people know that the Democrats in the Hillary campaign paid for dirt that the FBI then used to get a warrant on an American citizen to spy on another campaign. And it's a very dangerous precedent that was set. And what we're trying to do is just get the American public to understand what happened in this last election, and understand we have a responsibility as the House Intelligence Committee to ensure the American people that the FISA process is not being abused, and that's what we did.
You know, to Republicans, to a lot of Republicans, you're a hero because you're exposing the wrongdoings. But if you ask Democrats, at least the ones that were on the Sunday shows, they're saying you're the one doing something wrong. Adam Schiff, who is on your committee, he is the top Democrat on your committee, he had this to say.
Very possible his staff worked with the White House and coordinated the whole effort with the White House because it looks so much like this earlier effort, which we know was coordinated with the White House by the same chairman who had said that he would recuse himself, but of course hasn't.
He said that you coordinated all of this with the White House. What's your reaction?
Yeah, well, Mr. Schiff knows that he's spreading false narrative there, but that's not new for him. He spread false narrative the entire time. So the Democrats were well aware that I did not leak information. However, for a year they stayed quiet. They continued, they advocated for my removal from the committee. And why is that? It's because we've been successful at getting to the bottom of a lot of real problems with the institutions in our government. And so, look, there's no question they want me gone, but whatever they accuse you of doing is what they're doing. So we know that there has been almost 100 leaks that we believe have come from the Democrats in the House Intelligence Committee. And as of right now, remember, a year ago, they were claiming that they had more than circumstantial evidence of collusion, of Trump colluding with Russians. But they keep coming up with goose eggs. They have nothing. And so what do? They attack people who are trying to get to the truth. People like myself, people like Trey Gowdy. But look, it actually helps. And I said this on Friday. We actually enjoy the criticism, because when you're being criticized like this by all the major networks and being attacked by the left, we know that we're getting close to the truth. And I think the American people are just beginning to learn the truth about the Hillary campaign and the Democratic Party and their involvement in how they corrupted our institutions.
Sure. Well, Chairman, you know, we'd heard hints that maybe the dirty dossier was used to get the FISA warrant, and then it was revealed in your memo that Andrew McCabe said the FISA application never would have been submitted without that dirty dossier. And now there's a story. Axios says that you've got the Intel Committee could publish 5 more memos, which would go into wrongdoing at the DOJ, the FBI, and the Department of State.
Yeah, so let's get this clear. So with the FISA abuse specifically, we had to use this process in order to make it public, because DOJ and FBI were refusing to investigate themselves, refusing to acknowledge that there were serious problems. If you remember last week, DOJ sent me a letter saying that we were going to destroy national security. So all of that wasn't true. The people who were in the memo were the people who were most vocal about making sure that the American public did not discover the corruption and the schemes that were happening with the FISA court. So we had to use the process to make this public using the House rules, which we have the ability to do.
Sir, do you have 5 more memos? Do you have 5 more memos?
Yeah, so let me get to that. So phase 1 of our investigation was just getting at the FISA abuse. What we're looking at now is the State Department and some of the irregularities there. And we have several other areas that we're looking at, but I don't want the American people to think that we're going to have a memo that will go through this process. What we'll do is we will follow in phase 2, we will follow the facts where they lead. And when we get enough facts, we will then figure out a way to let the American people know. Likely it won't be done in the way that this was done.
Congressman, in the big picture, this whole thing goes back Carter Page. Some say, well, what about Papadopoulos? They started looking at him earlier. What do you say to that?
Well, I would say that if Papadopoulos was such a major figure, why didn't you get a warrant on him?
Yeah.
If Papadopoulos was such a major figure, you had nothing on him. You know, the guy lied. As far as we can tell, Papadopoulos never even knew who Trump was, or never even had met with the president. And look, getting drunk in London and talking to diplomats, saying that you don't like Hillary Clinton, is really, I think it's kind of scary that our intelligence agencies would take that and use it against an American citizen.
Congressman, thank you so much for being